Hello students, welcome back to the second part of chapter 4.2, classifications. So on last week's lecture, we were talking about scientists grouping organisms into groups. And there's this famous scientist by the name Carl Linnaeus, which he developed a system called the linear system of classification. So where he groups animals, sorry, not group animals, he group living things into various groups and various kingdoms, and this is in order for us, for people to actually study the living things much more easily. So last week we were also learning on the animal kingdom, right? So in this chapter, we will be only touching on animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. So in the animal kingdom, animals are actually divided into two groups. First group is say the vertebrates, and the second group refers to the invertebrates. So vertebrates refers to animals that have backbone or and a skeleton in it, whereas invertebrates refers to animals that do not have a backbone. So in the vertebrate section, animals are actually further divided into five major groups, which are the reptiles, fish, amphibians, birds, and mammals. Today we'll be looking at invertebrates. So these are animals that do not have a backbone. Right. So before we dive in deeper, I would like you to draw a table, right? Table similar to this, where you're going to write down the certain features, right? We write things down in table form so that we could actually read and study much more easily. Right, so the first group of invertebrates refers to the echinoderms. So what are echinoderms? So echinoderms, they are invertebrates that have the following feature. They have hard, spiny outer coverings, right? So you can see here, they have hard, spiny outer coverings. They possess a unique water vascular system. So examples of invertebrates are starfish, sea urchin, and sea cucumber. So the second group of invertebrates that we will be looking at will be the mollusk. So mollusks, they are actually invertebrates that have the following features. They have large muscles to help them move or feed. So the example of a mollusk would be snails, squids, and slugs. So if you notice, slugs, they are actually quite similar to snake, but why aren't snake considered as an invertebrate? So the reason is because uh, snake has the snake has a backbone in it, right? So whereas a slug does not have a backbone in it. So again, reminder, vertebrates are animals that have backbone and skeleton in it, whereas invertebrates are animals that does not have a backbone. So the third group of invertebrates that we'll be looking at will be the arthropods. So these are a few examples of arthropods. And arthropods, they are actually further divided into the insects group and the arachnids group. So what are the features of an arthropod? So an arthropod, they have jointed legs. They also have bodies in sections. So if you could look at all the insects and the arachnids here, so you could see the similar features. All of them have jointed legs, right? So you could see all of their legs are jointed legs. Mosquito, dragonfly, tree cricket, and beetle, right? So you can see they have jointed legs. Even for arachnids, so you can see they have jointed legs, right? So they also have bodies in sections. So, but what are the difference between insects and arachnids? So, insects, they have 6 legs. So, example of insects will be ants, bees, and grasshoppers, and also locusts, mosquitoes. So you can see, if you count the legs, they only have 6 legs. And an insect, they have bodies in 3 sections. So you can see what I mean by bodies in 3 sections. So let's look at an ant, for example. So you can see this is an ant. So an ant, they have a 3 section. This is the first section, second body section, and the third body section. Alright, so that's why if you could see all the insects, they have, let's look at the grasshopper, sorry, the dragonfly as well. So see the head, body, the tail here. So all insects have 6 legs and they have bodies in 3 sections. Let's look at arachnids. So example of arachnids will be a spider and scorpions. The difference is arachnids, they have 8 legs. So let's look at the spider here. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the spider have 8 legs, and they also have bodies in 2 sections. Right. So the first section is the head here, and second section, right, the body. So again, a reminder: insects have 6 legs and have bodies in 3 sections, whereas arachnids, they have bodies in 2 sections and they have and they have 8 legs. And the last group of invertebrate that we'll be looking at will be the annelids. So you cannot find annelids anywhere in your textbook. So this is something extra for you. Annelids refers to segmented worms with soft bodies. Right, this is their features, and most of the worm's body, they consist of identical segments, so giving it a ring appearance. So an example of annelids will be the earthworm, right? Right, looks slimy though. So you can see they have actually segmented. Sorry, they are actually segmented worms with soft bodies. So if you have touched an earthworm before, the bodies are really soft, and they have identical segments. All right, and so that's it for the animal kingdom. So next we will be looking at the plant kingdom. So of course, in order to study the plant kingdom, scientists also divide the plant kingdom into several groups. So in your textbook, you will be seeing a few groups of them. In fact, there are 4 groups of them, right? So the first group would be the flowering plants. So what are the features of a flowering plant? So flowering plants, they have large flat leaves, right? So you can see a few examples of flowering plants here. They have flowers. Obviously, they have flowers. If not, why are they called flowering plants? And flowering plants, they have roots. All flowering plants, they have roots. And the second plant group would be conifers. So conifers is an example of a non-flowering plant. So conifers, they have the following features. They have needle-shaped leaves, and they have cones, they have roots. So these are a few examples of conifers. Here we have the red pine, we have the white pine, we have the Scotch pine, all right, we have the sugar pine. So you can see, right, all of them, they have needle-shaped leaves, they have cones, all right, and all plant groups, all conifers, they have roots. So the third plant group that we'll be looking at would be ferns. So ferns, they do not have cones and they do not have flowers as well. Right. So they are also considered non-flowering plants, and they have roots. Right. So this is an example of a fern. So the last plant group would be the mosses. So mosses, they have small and thin leaves, right? Here's an example of mosses, small and thin leaves, and they do not have roots, right? So mosses are the only plant group that does not have roots. And that's it for chapter 4.2. So in chapter 4.2 so far we have learned about the animal kingdom and its subgroups, and also the plant kingdom and its various subgroups. So that's the end of this chapter. So I'll be looking. So I will look. Let's look out for the next chapter, which is chapter 4.3. Chapter 4.3 will be talking about types of variation. So that's it for today's class. See you, students.